Welcome to the Imperfect Podcast. I'm Joe Kane.
I'm Dan Kane.
And I'm Wayne Heckler.
And we just got back from seeing the new Civil War movie, and we're excited to tell you about it. Oh, by the way, spoilers to the bumper. We're very excited. We just got back from the Captain America
Civil
War, and we wanted to share our thoughts and comments on this.
One of the last podcasts, we actually made predictions about what was going to happen, and now we saw the movie. Now, first thing I say, was it anything that you guys predicted? Or were you totally surprised?
I'm going to start out right here, and I was very disappointed that no one died. Looking at the Batman vs Superman that we saw recently, it was a big shock that Superman died. I mean, not so much of a shock. It was in the comics that we knew that, and they kind of followed the comic book line. Now, getting into this one, there were a lot of people that got killed off in the Civil War line.
Right.
No one died.
Now, it's funny because I remember making up, I said, in a Civil War, really nobody wins in a way. It was a joke that no one wins, everyone takes their battles. But in this case, it's true. Nobody really won.
Yeah. Well, we got.
Well, kind of, because some people do end up in prison, basically.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't die.
I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start at the beginning. I mean, this movie starts out in a flashback with the Winter Soldier, and then we get right into see how Cap and his new team. I mean, Tony seems to be like this adjunct person that's like comes in, I guess, when they need him, and he's kind of semi-retired, I guess.
I guess, kind of. Yeah.
I mean, it's never really said. He's like, oh, I don't have a suit with me, and like everywhere he went, he always had a suit with him.
Yeah, it's like he's like I said, semi-retired.
It's like he was winding down already. Anyway, that's probably why he chose the side he chose. Yeah. He was kind of taking a step backwards anyway.
Well, again, to clarify, we talked about this in our last podcast about the our predictions on there. It was in the movie. It was called the Sokovia. Help me out here.
I say
Sokovia registration.
No, yes,
and I think it was the superhero registration in the comic books. So we've already, it's just a little departure and kind of following more of the storyline of the Captain America films and the Avengers films, just to line that up. And right off the bat, we see that Captain America is doing his thing. He's got his new team together. They're kind of gelling really well. And unfortunately, there's another disaster. Crossbones decides to blow up Captain America, and he's saved by
the witch,
Scarlet
Witch. Thank you. She
puts a force field around him, lifts him up. And the explosion, as she carried him up along with an explosive, and that happened to go off right before the building, so it looked like it
actually took out a lot of people, and it kind of forced the hands of governments to kind of band together to now find a mutual ground that this is what the Avengers should be doing, and they need to be governed because of this.
Right.
Now that's kind of the setup for the whole movie.
Yeah,
is that this one incident was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah,
and the argument was that some of them actually believed that was true. So listen, especially Stark, he said, "Well, look, we're taking upon ourselves to do this. Maybe we should stop."
He kind of led that faction.
He led that in.
Agreeing with them on that's the way it should be. They should be governed, but. Obviously, Cap didn't feel that way, and the sides they split. But they had evidence of all the disasters that happened while they were fighting over the last 4 years, and you could see both sides.
And it looked like he was in a sort of depression as well, because before that decision, he was so upset about what happened, it broke him a little.
Well, he gets confronted by a parent. Oops, sorry, I popped the mic. A parent of one of the not children, but college age
she lost her
children
kid
who lost her kid, and she confronts him right off the bat. I mean, that's a super
and she was in
powerful
politics,
scene.
by the way. So she was I forgot her position, but she was in government.
She was in government,
right. So she pushed the issue right there.
Right.
Maybe if it wasn't related to government officials relative, maybe they would have let it go.
Yeah,
but there was that. It was that kind of thing,
personal factor
that influenced Tony's decision and how he felt about doing that, where he stood on the issue.
Yeah, it was a big guilt factor. I mean, he obviously had a lot of guilt built up from everything that happened, and he was overcompensating. He was giving money to universities and doing philanthropical. Somebody help me on that.
No.
You're on your own with that one.
He was being somebody? All right.
Philanthropic.
He was philanthropic. He was being philanthropic, and he was, giving
philanthropy
money.
Is what the
yeah.
Again.
All right. Thanks for really rubbing that in on me. Phalanges. He was giving money to students to help them, change the world in essence. And you see right off the bat, they give a little precursor to what happens later, that they show that, he's missing his parents, and that his parents in that final moment, and this was like a demonstration, I guess, of one of his products that he had invented, and that the audience could see what he was feeling to try to draw that out of him, and it was a memory of his parents. Now, when I saw that, I was absolutely blown away that we saw,
we saw like Robert Downey Jr.
20 years ago,
25 years ago.
Right. It was really weird, really well done too. Like
very well done. Yes.
Just now they've been doing that type of thing. I mean, Ant-Man, they had Henry Pym as a younger man. It's Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
30, 40 years ago, and it's him to a T. And the same thing with Robert Downey Jr. now, and that was a really cool scene to me. So it kind of showed what was being set up, that he's in remorse. He's not with Pepper Potts anymore. She seems to be out of his life, right?
And it was because, he had to choose. It was like the world to save. It was either her or the world. It always becomes that. He couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
He couldn't stop really being who he was.
Right.
Yeah, and he even says later on in the movie, he's like, oh man, I had a choice, and this is kind of the middle ground. He goes, I can't stop saving people, and I also can't I can't leave her. So, this was the middle ground is by doing this registry and saying, okay, well, we've given up control of everything.
Right. And then you have the other side, of course, that's realizing, well, where does it end? Like, is this how it starts off? Then all of a sudden they're controlling us. How do we know if they send us to this place that we want to? Is that the right thing to do? Is the government going to start using them as weapons instead of them making that decision of what good and bad really is?
Right.
It was 171 countries, I believe, were on the
117, I believe.
One of them.
Definitely 117, I believe.
Dyslexia setting in.
Yeah. Okay.
117 countries bound together to say, hey, we need to control the Avengers.
Right.
And Cap right off the bat was completely against it, and then it seemed to be this big struggle between them, that they're constantly trying to find new members to join each of their teams, and they were through the whole thing kind of creating two separate teams.
Right.
I mean, as far as picking teams, when he picked Spider-Man, he goes visit Spiderman. Yes, we saw Spider-Man in the coming attractions, so it wasn't a surprise.
Just to clarify, Tony Stark goes and recruits
Spider-Man.
Right.
And what was nice about this, it's Spider-Man when he really just starts out being Spider-Man. What do you say? I'm doing it for 6 weeks? 6 months?
Yeah.
But very early on, so it was kind of nice to see the young Spider-Man.
I got to tell you that the actor playing Spider-Man is so dead on to me what the comic was. He was very quippy. All of these lines that he has, just even the tone of his voice. I am so excited now to see Spider-Man. Super excited, because he really iconized. I am just making up words tonight. He really embodied that character.
Yes,
and really made like a.
It was nice because he doesn't stop talking, kind of like Joe is trying right now. He doesn't stop talking throughout the whole fight. Most fights don't keep talking. Does not talk and keep going.
He does a good Spider-Man.
Let's just keep that. We both can't talk. We're stumbling on our words today. We're so excited about this movie.
And then you have on the other side that not so much they show him go recruit, but you had Paul Rudd as Ant-Man show up to be on Captain America's side.
Yeah,
and the one character that I thought was struggled the most with where she wanted to be was Black Widow. I felt like she was on Tony's side, but
I think she believed in the what Tony was saying. However, every one of her close friends was completely against it.
Right.
So that's kind of what I felt throughout.
Yeah, the funny thing about the Scarlet Witch is when she finally escapes, it almost seems anticlimactic for her character. She was struggling with them when she was finally saying, "Yeah, it's almost like I decided to leave." It almost like skips something. I know you can't show everything; it's a short movie.
But I think she was just also undecided.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think that was the moment where she decided.
Were you talking about Black Widow or Scarlet Witch?
I was talking about Black Widow.
I was talking about Scarlet Witch.
Okay, when she escapes Vision. Well, we didn't even get into that. Vision Vision lined up on Tony's side. Mm-hmm. We said that, and then Vision, the Scarlet Witch, is kind of. Held down in that as a prisoner in the Avengers facility that they have there. So
she was the first
you
were
saying right. She was a prisoner because of what had happened.
She took full responsibility.
She kind of didn't want to use them, and she was kind of undecided. But I think when she left, that was her deciding, and she said, "I'm on Captain America's side. I'm leaving."
Tony Stark basically imprisoned her.
True.
She's in a nice facility and she had all the amenities, but anytime she decided to do anything, her imprisoner, she was imprisoned by Tony there, and the Vision was just watching her.
I think I know what I'm saying. I think after she finally escapes, is that I wanted to see more of her. It was almost like then we just saw from a distance. She almost didn't speak that much after that point.
Yeah,
I wanted a little bit more. She kicked butt, but I wanted a little bit more, to feel her emotion that she's out now. Hey, now I realize, or I knew I had to say something a little more.
Right.
And maybe they had it before the editing process. I don't know, but I'm thinking I wanted a little bit more from her character.
Right.
Just a slight little criticism.
What'd you think of the Black Panther? Prince of Wakanda.
Oh, I liked it. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Now they're setting up they're setting up a Spiderman movie that's coming out with this. They're setting up a standalone Black Panther movie that's already slated to come out. It was a really good introduction to him. He's going after the Winter Soldier. Basically, what happens right in the beginning of the film or earlier on is the Winter Soldier gets blamed for the death of
his father, who was the king, right?
In Vienna.
In Vienna.
At the bombing, when they were going to sign the...
Right, he wasn't the king of Vienna. That was just
he was the king of Wakanda.
Right, but he was in Vienna, yeah.
Yes.
And he inherits the role of the Black Panther and then becomes the king at that point. Yeah. And, he goes out and has a personal vendetta, and he is really...
He can fight,
kick ass.
Yeah. He's slim. He looks the part. It goes well, and the actor who played him does a great job.
I liked him, but also that became the swing of the confrontation from verbal to physical confrontation. It went from where do they stand on the government's issues to dealing with the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
because the one side was
the Winter Soldier was completely framed.
He was totally framed, but
for
he did
this bomb explosion that went off in the UN.
Right.
And
he did a lot of bad stuff in the past, but you find out that it was through brainwash.
Yeah.
That he did all this.
He was under control of by Hydra. Hydra controlled him 100% by a few keywords that he had.
And because Captain America was so aware of this, he befriended him. He didn't want to let that go. He knew he was inside. And, because he was brainwashed, he didn't want, that's why he chose him as a friend.
Right.
And then Stark says, but we're friends too. It's such a good moment,
Yeah. So that becomes the main confrontation is half of them are chasing him down. The other half know what happened and they're on Captain's side. So,
what I don't get is, you got a good friend and I get it when you were younger and he's gone through so much metamorphosis. It's been, they actually said in the thing that he was 100 years, that they're 100 years old. Him and Cap are 100 years old.
Yes.
And, after 100 years and I want to say 80 of them have been where he's a villain.
Yeah.
Why would Cap go to such lengths?
Because he's Captain America. And he's not Iron Man.
I guess that's a good answer, right? You wouldn't have much of a movie if he didn't. Let's just say that.
Yeah. But
just stopped him dead in his tracks, folks. Yeah.
The fight scene, the first fight scene when they went at each other was awesome. You had Ant-Man, and he got into he shrunk and got into Iron Man's
That
suit.
was really cool. Yeah.
Wait, who's talking?
How cool is this? We got to see Ant-Man go big.
Right, that was
which
nice.
is in the comics, and he eventually becomes. I forget the actual name, but he had a different name when he went big.
Oh, okay.
And now he's 50 feet tall. And probably one of my favorite lines in the movie is Spider-Man looks up at him as soon as he becomes this giant ant man, and he throws out the S word right away. And it's just like, oh my God, that was just hysterical.
And then how does he take him down? He goes back to the Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, when they take down the...
Well, for all the nerdists out there, he was making references to Star Wars.
Yeah. Webbed around his feet, and they hit him from the top.
Yep.
What are those things called? Imperial Walkers.
The Imperial Walkers,
yeah.
Correct, yes.
Which is 2 teachers at our high school.
Well,
The Imperial Walkers?
Mr. Imperial and Mr. Walker.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
What a flashback.
Right, hey,
Holy crap.
brings it all back.
Yeah, that was weird.
the lot of very cool scenes. Spider-Man is just totally kick butt. Like, I really did not expect him to be such a viable character. Now, we had done a podcast in the past about versus, like who would want to see fight each other, and we actually did get to see Captain America and Spider-Man fight each other in this, which was really cool.
Which I said was like the battle of the goody two shoes, but it was also the battle of the boroughs, because Cap's from Brooklyn and Spider-Man's from Queens, so there's that connection too.
They mentioned that in the movie too. Yeah, hey, where are you from? I'm from Queens.
And what I really liked about Spider-Man's character is he was in awe of these people he followed. It's almost like, playing on the Yankees and like, hey, there's Babe Ruth. He's saying hello to the people he's hitting. Like, hey, I really admire. It's like, hey, stop talking to them. Like, they're your enemy. Yeah. So it really added that comedy to it. Like, he knew he was fighting, but no one was really trying to kill each other. Yeah. It was almost like he's trying to stop them. They didn't really cross the line. So I know you said, like, you're almost upset that they didn't kill each other, but in that way, it's almost like they still respected each other.
Sure.
Right.
Except for the Black Panther had that personal vendetta because his father was just killed. That was the one who took it up a notch.
The cool part is he was so dead on the government side, and that it had to be that way. And not to get to the end of the movie already, but I mean he flip flops and goes, okay, you know what? He's smart enough. He doesn't seem to me like a one-sided character that's like, oh, I have to do this.
Right.
He evaluated the situation. He figured it out, and he figured it out on his own that, Bucky Barnes wasn't the one who killed.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing all in itself. Is he's an intelligent character.
Yeah.
It's not a one-sided character. Like Zemo. It turns out to be the main bad guy in this. Although we have enough conflicts between everybody else,
right.
He tries to kill himself at the end. He's completely depressed, and he goes through this whole thing. And his whole scheme was to start the Civil War.
Right, that was the whole focus.
That was the whole focus.
Yes.
That's he went in, and in the comics he's called Baron Zemo, but here he's just referred to as Zemo. He's implementing this Civil War.
And it's funny, it's like Stark picked up on that, but he chose to attack anyway, right? There was a moment that they realized that.
Well, do we want to get into why he attacked?
Well,
do you remember this? We just saw this 2 hours ago.
He framed them, and then Tony Stark realized and followed Cap and Winter Soldier to Siberia?
Siberia. We'll say Siberia.
To meet... to get this guy, and he kind of realized, and then that's exactly what he wanted because of what he revealed to Tony that made him flip out.
Which was I guess a surveillance video of the Winter Soldier in 1991, which drew us right back to the beginning. Which, if you ask me, that's great writing. Mm-hmm. Is giving a little clue in the beginning and then coming back to it and coming full circle.
Yeah.
This movie did that for me.
Yes.
There was all sorts of like foreshadowing that was which was really followed through with. Mm-hmm. Now we see in that the video at the end is a surveillance video of the Winter Soldier not in control of himself, but killing Tony's parents.
Right.
And when he first killed the father, you don't know what is he going to do with the mother. And sure enough, they black out, right? They show him get to her. No, he chokes her.
No, he chokes her.
He chokes her. Right,
and
that's right.
And then not only does that happen, but Tony turns to Cap and asks him if he knew that if he had known that. And
that's right. He admitted it. Yes.
And then he flipped out, and it just started all up again.
Right.
Yeah, you know what? He knew about it, and it was one of those things where he's like, "Oh yes, I did know about it," but it was.
He didn't think it would help the situation.
He didn't think it would help the situation. Right. Obviously, he was very tentative about telling them that.
Right.
If you think about it, if he knew this all along, because this was the first time we saw the video.
Right.
So I'm thinking that he knew that Bucky had been the one who killed Tony's parents to begin with, since the beginning of their relationship, because he knew Howard Stark before he was frozen on ice.
Wasn't Cap
he
frozen
was frozen
at the time that this happened?
Time that this happened, yeah.
He was frozen from 45
All right,
to
so he had to have found
2012.
he had to have found this information out at some point.
Right.
Now explain to me. So all the other soldiers were killed.
Yeah.
Like what was that?
Well,
about?
there was
going to that.
Well, this we didn't even talk about. There were 4 other Winter Soldiers that were created. However, the Winter Soldiers were not controllable like Bucky was controllable. They were different wild cards. So what happened is we lure back Tony Stark and Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes get lured into this facility in Siberia, and Zemo is basically trying to incite this war to get them to go after each other. He just kills the other Winter Soldiers. They're in stasis.
Right.
They had no point of defense, but they were uncontrollable to begin with. So it really does shift your focus of okay, we have to stop them from releasing this major evil. When it really boils down to, it's gone back to civil war. The whole point is that he got these guys to go against each other.
And that's why he went into the CDC, the Center for Controlled Diseases. I forgot. So that's where they went to steal the toxins.
The toxins,
poison or whatever.
That's what started
that
was in the beginning of the movie.
At the very beginning, right. So that whole thing, you think, they're going to release it on the people and kill everyone with this disease, but it wasn't. It was just to start this off. Yeah. So this explosion that took place really
everything. Job. I mean,
it was good writing.
Very good writing.
Leads you in. You're like, why is this? And it brings you back to see why.
Absolutely.
Now, getting to the end of the movie and really spoiling the end of the movie, we see Bucky Barnes is ripping out Captain's thing. Bucky Barnes loses his mechanical arm.
Yeah.
Awesome. He gets it blown off by Tony Stark. Right. And then they kind of come to some kind of draw, I guess. Captain just basically toasted Iron Man.
Yeah.
I mean, I did not see that coming. I really, if I had to think about it,
because he put the shield.
He put the shield right in through his.
What's that called? The light in front. Is that a special?
Wow, name? You said light in front, and it totally escaped my mind.
Oh, okay. Well, he puts a shield through that, and then Tony Stark says, "That's not even your shield. My father made that shield."
Yeah, so he left it.
I didn't know that. Did you guys know that?
Yes. His father. Well, that was in that was in the earlier movies.
Was it?
His father, when he first became, it was in the very first one.
Oh, okay.
When he first became captain,
yes, yeah.
The father had made it out of vibranium and adamantium, or that was in the comics, but I think it was just made out of vibranium.
Okay.
And presented to Cap when he became Cap.
I think I want a car made out of vibranium. That might be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What is vibranium? Is that like a real?
Well, no, it's a Marvel cinematic metal along with
it's on
adamantium.
The periodic table, right?
But that gets into X-Men, which apparently they're still not crossing over that. But it's a good sign to me. Going, okay, you got an established Scarlet Witch. You have now Spider-Man has crossed over. That Sony, they made a great deal now and got Sony over there.
And, not to say it even says that yes, Spider-Man will be back. Yeah. So they're setting it up for the next one that Spider-Man will also be in the next one.
All right, well we can get right into the after credits scene.
Sure.
This is anybody listening to this is probably going, oh, was there an after credit? There was an after credit scene.
There were 2 of them.
There were actually it was a pre-credit scene.
Right.
which is kind of in the middle. And then the pre-credit scene was basically Bucky Barnes deciding voluntarily to go back under ice because he doesn't, he's obviously can't even trust himself if he's being able to be controlled. And he's in Wakanda. And now we see that, after T'Challa, the king of Wakanda now, Black Panther, is helping out Captain after having chased these guys down, helping him out. Then the after credit scene.
The after credit scene, Spiderman.
Yeah.
With what did he have? What was it that he was?
I'm assuming it's some kind of Stark tech.
Well, it definitely was Stark. It was his
and then and it shoots up at the sky, and it's just projected like a Spider-Man
sign,
mask and sign.
Made me think of a little bit of Batman. I always keep going back to Batman. It's like the bat signal. Now he has the spider symbol.
Now, did you guys think it what was that? Was it a program that eventually he'll open and decipher, and there's some codes in it to do something?
We have to see that movie.
Right.
To see, but it did go to a black screen that said Spider-Man will be back.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
which makes me think, there was a lot of things set up that Chris Evans wasn't necessarily going to be continuing on as Captain because he's going to get behind the camera. Okay. Now they left it wide open. Basically, at the end of this movie, they're not friends. They've gone their own ways. The Captain's team is all almost entirely incarcerated,
right,
by Tony's team.
Right.
And the remainder of Captain's team is basically Captain and Bucky, and then we see that...
And Bucky's frozen.
And then we see that the Black Panther, T'Challa, is helping them. So he's gone over to the other side.
Right.
They'll probably recruit some more people, too, for the next one.
Yeah, sure.
We'll be predicting the part 2 at one point also.
Yeah. That's... I was super... thrilled with this movie.
I was very happy with it as far as just talking the Marvel movies that are attached to it. The Ant-Man, the Thor, the Cap, the
they made
Avengers.
References to everything too, which was great.
I personally would rank this as good as any of them except the last Cap movie. Winter Soldier, that was my favorite one. Other than that, this is as good as any of them.
And they definitely did their job. It was like a cliffhanger because it's over already, even though it's a pretty decently long movie.
Right.
Yeah.
But when it's over, you're still thinking it's one of those things you'll have to see the next one. So they're definitely doing a good job.
But it was definitely good. I have to go though. The last one was my favorite one, but this right behind it. What about you? What do you think?
You know what? I'm kind of partial to the second one also. I mean, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it was a better movie. I think I haven't necessarily absorbed the new movie yet.
Okay.
It's only been 2 hours since we've seen it.
Right.
And it's such an action-packed thing. I'm still, going over pieces in my head to try to connect the dots.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be completely definitive on that yet, although I do kind of lean towards the second one at the moment still.
I agree. I think because I've seen the second one a few times.
Yeah.
This one we did just see. You're right. You see it again and again. Say, hey, maybe we can make a better judgment. Yeah. That's a good point.
But you know what? There's been certain movies, and I'm going to go out there and say it. I wasn't thrilled with the second Thor. Okay. It's still in that same universe and everything, and but this definitely holds up. I mean, this is not this is not an Iron Man 3.
No.
I said it.
Good, I didn't have to. This is definitely up there with, amongst the best ones. This one, the second Cap, the first Iron Man, the first Avengers, in there with those the really better ones. So,
well, listen, if we haven't spoiled it for you, please go out and watch it. Very thrilled with it, right?
Yes.
Absolutely,
Everybody?
Absolutely.
8 thumbs
Good
up?
show. Good movies.
Okay.
He's a little lasers.
This has been the Imperfect Podcast. Thank you for listening in. If you have any comments or you want to add into what we said or yell at us for giving away too many spoilers, hit us up at Heckler Kane Inc. on Twitter, and we will get back to you. All right. Have a nice night.